Thanks for joining me today, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about some relatively minor plumbing things to take care of you might run into in your remodel. We're going to do a little bit of sweating copper. We're also going to do a little bit of transitioning to PEX, and we're going to readjust some pipes and vents. Let's get started. Oh, a disclaimer here. I'm not a plumber. This is all just stuff that I'm doing on my own, and it's all pretty simple. If you have anything complex or anything that you don't understand, I highly recommend that you just hire a professional plumber. It's not worth the risk. So here's an example of what I've got going on here. This piece right here, the crown of it, sticks out about 3/4 of an inch past the stud. So if I try to put drywall across all of here, then that'll stick out and I'll have to build out all these walls along the whole way through the bathroom. So I'm going to move this back here. So in order to do that, I need to move this, which is an air vent, so that it goes down and then around and then up and then connects back here. That's an air vent, so it's okay to add a little length and a couple turns to it. In order to do that, I'm going to have it here, which means that this, which I was going to convert to PEX anyway, I'll need to convert this right down here so that the PEX is flexible and it can move around it. And then I'll convert this one too. This is the cold and this is the hot. So all that will have to be done next, just so I can move this vanity drain a little bit backwards so that it doesn't force me to push out the whole wall. I bought this pipe cutter, which was well worth it even though I only used it twice. In order to cut the copper pipe, you just stick it on and then turn it around, and it gradually tightens and cuts until eventually the pipe just breaks off nice and clean. But not as clean as you want to have it, so you want to get in there with a knife and kind of deburr the copper, so that's cutting out the all the sharp edges left over from the cut on the inside of it. Then the next step is to sand it until it's nice and bright and shiny, like the way that new copper would look. Then it's time to sweat it on, which just means connecting in and soldering in a connection for it. And I'm just going to solder in a simple connection that transitions to PEX. And my idea is that way the rest of it can all be PEX. And PEX is super easy to work with. It's plastic piping, it's easy to bend, it's very inexpensive, and you really just want to be working with it if you're an amateur like I am. So here you can see I'm beginning the process of getting it ready for sweating. The key thing here is make sure you're safe. I put a wet rag behind the torch because I would be burning into the wall and I didn't want to do that. And once I had that, I just put it on and I made this connection right here, which is my first ever sweated copper pipe. And once I do the one on the other side, I hope for it to be my last ever sweated copper. Here you can see the end result once I got both the hot and the cold transition to PEX, and I'll just add in the PEX fittings and everything later to bring them all the way around. For now, I just wanted to get them transitioned to PEX so I could just cap them off and worry about that later. Okay, next step, cut this off somewhere around here and then put in a vent elbow. Have it come all the way over here, probably to this side or somewhere around here, so I can brace against this stud. Come back, then another vent elbow, and then come here and reconnect right here, and that'll give me room to put the new drain in and kind of push it back so it's not sticking out of the wall. Now this is venting from downstairs that comes up and ties into the main vent stack. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it, other than venting, it just draws air down so that you can get proper drainage. It's very important to plumbing. But because I'm venting here, I can use 90-degree turns. If this was a drain waste pipe, then you would not be able to use those sharp 90-degree elbow turns. That would be too sharp and would cause clogs. But because all it's pulling through is air, I'm all right. So this can be, you can add length to the vent pretty easily. It's not really a huge deal. When you're doing drain waste, it is a much bigger deal, and you want to be careful about adding length to it. And you kind of got to figure the volume of the water and all this other stuff that you don't really have to worry about that much with regular venting. I used a hacksaw to make the cuts whenever I could, but I also had a kind of a piano wire garrote type thing, which is basically just a metal string with two handles on either end of it. And it's really great for tight spaces. You just wrap it around the pipe and then you rub it back and forth until it cuts right through the PVC pipe. I also used a level to make sure that the vent pipes had a lean that was ever so slightly towards the main stack. That way, whenever water or anything gets trapped in them, it'll still drain back out. I used a hole saw to make cuts right through the middle of the studs when I needed to stick the pipe through them. You want to do it in the middle. It decreases the chance of a nail or something hitting that pipe if someone's ever putting on drywall or a shelf or whatever. And of course, always when you're working with PVC, you want to plan things out so that at the end you're not trying to force a piece in between two other ones, that you can just put one. In this case, I had it set so that at the very end of it, I would put the vertical piece in place and push it on the top and bottom. And the next step, the final step, was to make the same cuts on the drain and just put a new piece in. The drain was really simple. Venting was much more complicated than the drain. And once I got it in, there it is. I'm all done. And here's how everything looks once it's all done. And I've got the PEX put in. And the PEX comes all the way around up to where the shower valve will eventually be. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making the video, and I hope you'll all like and subscribe as I go through the next steps. Thank you very much.